Then at this point, what I'm going to do, oh, did I ask for public comment?
Yeah, you already have.
Okay,
And again, would you like for Mona to restate the motion?
Yes, please.
One time that's before the board? Yes.
Adoption of resolution approving suspension of September 1, 2015 increase for water and wastewater rates approved by ordinance 2013-01 and ordinance of Calaveras County Water District modifying rates for water and wastewater services.
And this, but that would specify that it would be for 1 year.
for 1 year.
Postponement or suspension of the rate.
Right.
For 1 year.
No later than 1 year.
Yeah,
Yeah, the action would suspend it for a year, and then the board, of course, can act before that to do something else.
Pretty much as it reads, if you just put in for 1 year to September, of the September 1st, 2015 increase for 1 year to September 1, 2016, I think is
Yeah.
the motion we want to state.
Perfect.
okay. Call for the vote.
Director Strange.
I'll support it for now, yes.
Director Mills.
Yes, I'll support it for now as well.
Director Ratterman.
Yes, I'll support it.
Director Davidson.
Yes.
Director Underhill.
Yes.
The 5-0 approved.
Thank you, and we definitely understand the strong desires of the board to find other revenue and to do whatever we can to continue to provide relief to the repairs.
Let me know how I can help.
Can we take a break, please?
Just write a check, no problem.
Yeah.
Let's take care of everything.
Start playing the lotto.
You need a massage right now.
Ready for item 4, which is a public hearing. Discussion action regarding the adoption of a mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring and reporting plan for the West Point Wilseyville wastewater treatment plant facilities consolidation project, CCWD number 15072. Charles Palmer.
Yes, and Madam President, I'd ask that you convene the public hearing on this item, which can open now, and then we will receive you can receive the report from staff. We'll open it to public comment. Then you can close the public hearing and consider the item.
So just open public.
I was going to maybe give a little presentation, unless there's somebody from the
Well, it would be
public-
part. Yeah, it would be part of the public hearing. Technically,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
your presentation would be part of that, so you.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd be part of the public hearing, and then, of course, any comment, and then, yeah.
Okay, so I'm opening the public hearing.
And so is mine. Great.
Sure hope you don't have a slide for every page of this report.
I'm not going to torture anybody like
Pull
except
yourself
myself. Yeah.
Charles, for a second, let's,
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I got pretty tired reading that.
But there was a lot of good history in that report. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, that was great. Cultural stuff.
Yeah, that was Shelley Davis King, local archaeologist over in Sonora. So this is the environmental CEQA public hearing and proposed adoption of mitigated negative deck for the West Point Wilseyville wastewater consolidation project. And just to give a brief overview, Wilseyville has 28 connections. West Point has 165 connections with the sewer plant there. They're in very close proximity to each other. They're only, 4,000 feet apart. And so the proposed project is to consolidate the Wilseyville treatment plant into the West Point plant and to obtain a new updated permit, single permit for the West Point plant. And the West Point plant will continue to be provide the treatment, disinfection, storage, and disposal. That'll be the primary facility. Wilseyville will be used as additional storage and land disposal, mostly because to meet our permit requirements, we have to have that extra capacity. So the project construction includes a new community septic tank for Wilseyville. It'll be down the hill from Wilseyville on CCWD property. Construction of a small lift station there, not really high flow rate, 15 gallons a minute, probably similar to a septic tank effluent pump system. And then construction of a 3,500 feet, approximately 3-inch diameter force main from Wilseyville over to West Point. It'll have, we have septic and sludge handling, drying facilities. We have all these septic tanks up in West Point. So, when you pump them out, you gotta have some place to dispose of all that septage. So, and currently we're disposing that into the Wilseyville pond. So, and that practice will change. And so in part of that construction, we're gonna likely have to drain and dredge out we have 3 existing ponds. The Wilseyville pond will definitely have to be dredged out. Yet to be determined if the West Point ponds will have to forgo effort to dredge them out and line them. So, but it's a good possibility, and included in our Clean Water State Revolving Fund grant we're trying to obtain that would help pay for lining these ponds, which is a fairly expensive effort.
Charles, what's the capacity of the septic sludge handling drying facilities?
Not great. It's
So we couldn't take any private loads?
We're not going to be. It's going to be an underutilized facility, just for the sake that there's not a lot of septic tanks up there. So it could be a
But,
possibility.
not for us, but there are a lot of septic tanks up there.
Correct. I understand what you mean.
The county needs a septic receiving facility, and this one may not be adequate.
That would not be the purpose of this facility, but yeah, you're right. Yes.
That is another one of those revenue sources that we've tried in the past to accomplish, and, it
Yeah,
would certainly be a benefit to the county.
This would more be a convenience for our operators to not have to.
So you're just gonna have a small belt press or something like that there, or?
Yeah, I was thinking actually more like a solar drying bed covered in like a greenhouse type structure.
Something easy.
Yes.
What are the actual flows? I know that we've talked about connections and, the allowable maximum gallons per day and all, but what are the actual flows? Any idea?
We have all those records. I don't have them here before me today, but yeah, that entire analysis was done to document exactly how much, the grant funding, when you go to apply for the grant funds, they scrutinize that very carefully. They don't want to be paying for free capacity,
Right.
So we have to demonstrate based on historical plant flows, what the flows are. So I think Wilseyville, West Point is in the range of roughly 25 to 35,000 gallons per day, I think. And then,
So about half of the permitted flow.
correct, 50. It's permitted for 58,000 gallons per day. So, and then Wilseyville, I think is, I think we're around 5 to 9,000, somewhere in that range, gallons per day. But that's what it's permitted for, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So, which actual flows may be lower than that, which more than likely.
So is there no capacity for, or I think I saw a number of 20-some new connection capacity. That seems low to me. I don't know about,
General plan just follows with the general plan.
okay.
Yeah, that was based on what the facilities will perform at, and based on our current design criteria and so it's possible that we can go back in the future and reevaluate that based more on what actual flows we're seeing. The problem is you get so much variation in flows because right now their flows are really down, obviously, because you're in the middle of a drought, but then you get your 100-year storm event, and that's where the regulators come out to visit your plant and see what levels your storage ponds are at. And so, unfortunately, it's some of these facilities are a little bit overbuilt just because they have to be built around a very conservative criteria. So,
Charles, I have a question on the pond liners, because you state in the environmental checklist that it may require installation of liners. When do you think we'll actually know whether or not that'll be required?
That's part of your process when you go to the Regional Water Quality Control Board to update
They'll
your
decide.
permit. So that, in fact, this whole project really is a mitigation project, more or less. I mean, it's
Okay.
because we know we have to go get our permit updated, and they're gonna, you have to do an anti-degradation analysis to make sure you're not contaminating groundwater or surface water. And, I've talked to the regional board staff. They do have a little concerns about our effluent having some high nutrient loadings. So, we're kind of maybe a little on their radar.
Okay.
That's kind of a problem when you start going down this path, is that
We have monitoring wells there?
I believe we have some, yeah, but I don't think they've been there for very long, yeah. So at least on Teresa's our point person on that. So we're compliant.
And this wouldn't allow, a few people have brought up the idea of the issue that the Wilseyville spray field limits road access, or at least the expansion. Larry, you may have additional info. But some folks have asked me, is there any way we can have the Wilseyville spray field go away that would provide easier access to the potential biomass facility and some of this stuff down there? And so I said, well, I'll check.
Yeah, there's a way. I mean, the problem is, you saw, our budget, we just approved, these are expensive facilities. I mean,
Right.
it's the permitting, the design, it's a small fortune to design and build these facilities. So when people, it sounds nice, and easy and convenient to just relocate a spray field, but there's a lot involved in that whole process to do that, So is there land out there maybe that, we could maybe shift things around a little bit? More than likely, but, it's a process, a lengthy permitting process. And so, if that's really something that has to be considered, then it would probably be better to know it sooner than later, so we could take care of it during the permitting process.
And I think our question is, could all of the spray field happen at the West Point spray field facility and use the storage pond only for, additional storage as per the state requirements for,
That's where it gets into the whole issue of the 100-year storage for 100-year storm flows, the regional board, they're sticklers about it. They make you go through the whole water balance and
Right.
show you can store every little drop of wastewater and dispose of every little bit of wastewater. So even though those facilities may sit idle for several years because you have a drought going on or something, that you can't guarantee you're not going to need them some point down the road. We've gone through this when in these high storm flow years where we've got more wastewater than we know what to deal with. Our ponds we're violating all
Right.
Division of Safety of Dams. They require 2 foot of freeboard, and then the Regional Water Quality Control Board requires another 2 feet of freeboard below your spillway. So by the time that's like 4 foot of freeboard, which a lot of your storage is in the upper portion of your dam. So, we've unfortunately had to go out in some instances and install boards in the spillways to get that additional 2 feet to make sure we don't spill in these really high rainfall years. And we hear from DSOD, of course, they're not happy about that situation, but it's better than getting a violation for a spill. So it's there's a lot of consideration that goes into, even though it doesn't seem like we're using these facilities because you're in the middle of a drought. It's not like they're never going to be. You have to guarantee with wastewater that you can contain and dispose of all that wastewater, regardless of what kind of weather conditions you're experiencing.
I guess some of these questions are more of, is there flexibility in this project as it sets now to consider incorporation of that, or are we beyond that point?
I don't think we're beyond that point. I just think we would have to know sooner than later, so we could try to see what the options are is to, making some modifications of that particular spray field.
No, okay, great, thank you.
And let's see here. So this is just kind of an overview map of the project area on your, not really working. So on the right half of the page, you can see the pond there. That's the Wilseyville Pond over near the Wilseyville community. Right now, that's a raw sewage comes into that pond and gets aerated. And then it's right now, because it's an unlined pond, maybe there's a little seepage going on and enough evaporation that we're not having to use the spray field too much. So that's probably going to change in the future because we're probably going to have to line that pond. The force main would be installed there, that red line between the two plants. There'd be a parallel line coming back to the Wilseyville Pond for that auxiliary storage, mostly used in like 100-year events, rainfall event. And the West Point plant would pretty much stay the same as it is, with the addition of this sludge, relatively small sludge drying and septage receiving station. And so, we went through the secret review process. We performed all the initial studies. In that process, we had to define exactly what the project is. We've got, when you enter into these projects, you don't exactly know. There's several options. Where do you put the ponds? Do you build new ponds? Do you reuse your existing ponds? Do you reuse your existing spray fields? Move your spray fields? And so in that process, you get your historical cultural resources person out there. You get your Native American tribal consultation process going. You identify where your wetlands and stream delineations. So and all those things factor into your decision-making process, and you can modify the project, which we did in this case, to avoid a lot of those impacts. So and that helps in just streamlining the project and getting it through the grant process, because the folks at the state Clean Water State Revolving Fund, they have their own group of environmental folks that are reviewing the whole process as you're taking it through, trying to get your grant. And so we submitted this to the state clearinghouse on February, I don't know why that's September 12th, it should be February 12th, 2015, and it went through a 30-day review period, which extended, and then this is the public hearing here. So today what we have to do is, we have to consider all the comments that we received and the CCWD responses, and the public comments of this public hearing before considering adoption of the native deck. We did agree to some mitigation measures. There are dust control. There's some potential issues with migratory birds. We're just avoiding the nesting period if possible. Doing pre-construction surveys, establishing a buffer zone if there are nests identified. Cultural resources, we agreed to a mitigation measure of having some monitoring during construction and just having some protocols established in the event that you discover some artifacts or burial sites, which is not common for this county. And then just some basic stuff, just your typical stormwater pollution prevention, filing a notice of intent to with the general permit for construction activities, which is most projects these days have that. And then water quality, that's the big one, is that we've got to go to the regional board, get our updated permit, perform our anti-degradation analysis, and basically reach an agreement with the regional board as the final details of the project, which will be covered by the grant.
Charles, are we gonna create the SWIP in-house?
There's a lot of folks out there that can offer that services. So in the past, I don't think we've actually done a SWIP in-house before. I think most of them we have hired consultants to do those. There's some local ones, some just a little bit outside our area that do that.
And do we have a QSD, certified QSD in staff?
Yeah, Jared, our inspector, is certified. He's actually
QSP?
QSP, yeah. He's not a qualified designer. So I guess maybe eventually I need to go get that trained.
Well, it's easy for you as an engineer to get that. Because that does require, usually on linear projects like that, the things are covered up every day after, you know, at the end of construction, you cover everything, and then the next morning you uncover it and off you go.
Right. So, and, yeah, and then, you know, there's just your typical, also some of the typical SWIP measures, your silk fences and hydro seeding, or, you know, how you're gonna leave the site after you're finished, so, with the construction. So, so the resolution under consideration is to consider the initial study, mitigated NEC, that was provided to you, including all the supporting documentation, consider the public review comments and CCWD responses, consider public hearing comments. After that, approve the project per CEQA statutes, adopt the initial study mitigated NEC, adopt MMRP, the mitigation monitoring and reporting plan, and then authorizing the filing of the notice of determination. So that's it for my presentation. So I guess open it up to the public.
Open for any public discussion, questions, comments?
This is above my pay grade, but I still have 3 questions. How does this correlate with the general plans? Because today, is the general plan has any future interest in this area and how it would affect us? Plus, the other thing is that there's talk about, well, hasn't been talked about, what is called an assessment districts. If the general plan has plans on the area. And how's that, has any influence, financial influence, now or in the future, in near future, if they're gonna build larger areas for human living area? Do they have any plans of increasing density of that area? No? Okay. So there's no worry about assessment district like they have something in Valley Spring going on, right? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I can answer that because I took a look at the general plan last night in relation to the project, this particular project, and it was accounted for. The potential growth within the area is part of the project.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Mills.
Madam President, I just wanted to note that, you know, one of the things, and these are things that we will reiterate as part of when we come back to the board after the project is bid and we have a consideration of a contract before you for construction, is really some of the operational savings by doing this project. And I really want to thank Charles and Bill and their staff for the thought process of trying to get ahead of the next permit requirement, the next time the permits are updated and the requirements that are imposed, and to go from 2 permits to 1 through this project. And so that's one of the things that I think we'll make sure that as we move forward with this and tell that the reasons why we're entering into this contract and beginning this project, we'll make sure that we articulate that to the public.
And just to go back to your question, the planning director is aware of this being in the grant process and you know, kind of on our radar screen. And we've had that discussion with him, so they're aware of, with the general plan update, that this is very much a likely.
May I ask one more question? Your staff spent a lot of time and effort to this study. I realize that the $2,000 was sufficient game. What did it cost your staff to prepare this? Any ballpark figure?
Thanks to Mr. Bill Hurley, we were able to get a grant to cover the cost of preparing this document, which we don't always get those, but we did get a $200,000 grant. That particular document there was probably, not including my own time, was about.
You work free, right?
No, I don't. But, it was about a $50,000 process, yeah, and it's still not quite done. So, you know, I'm doing a lot of late nights trying to get the thing closed out, and so I can move on to some other urgent work. But
So Too bad we couldn't use all that money to do the work, actually work to do.
Well, that's the point, is to, you know, they're willing, the state is willing to fund the planning so that they have a good plans before it gets submitted for the grant application, so that the state feels confident that, you know, we've checked all the boxes, that we've got a good project, we've followed all the environmental processes, so.
And hopefully nobody puts them on it.
So, and just to address your question about the county, you know, the state actually, part of the planning process, they required us to go to the planning department and get a consistency determination. The county planning department actually put it on there. The planning commission board agendized it and approved it to be consistent with their general plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, further public comment? If seeing none, I close the public hearing
Back to the board.
and back to the board.
I have a couple things. Dave, I would just want to know that when we complete this project, that we've got a cost-benefit analysis so we can determine whether or not this was a good investment and what are the yearly regulatory savings along with what is the reduced staff and equipment savings that we have on a yearly basis and how that plays in. If this is the kind of projects that we want to do to make the best use of our ratepayers' dollars going forward, that's the way to proof it out and then say, next time we need to do more of this rather than less of this. The other thing is I did bring up, because some of you know I'm a pilot, so whenever I see 14 CFR something, Part 77 had to do with how that was presented for the purpose of having a tower at that location. And I did note that the information presented was for an airport at a 25-to-1 glide slope at 5,000 feet of distance out, instead of heliports, which is 4,000 feet at 8-to-1 glide slope, which a 60-foot tower will put us right at the tip of what I call penetration for a whole lot of other rules that happen. So if we have a visibility issue for data transfer, for instance, that we have to go beyond that 60-foot, and I'm not talking about 60-foot where it's sitting, it's AGL from the helipad kind of thing, that we take that into account and try to stay underneath that number. And that's 14 Code of Federal Regulations 77.23.
You know, it's fine, I had the same comments.
I've got a few on the biological. There's just a couple typos. There's a few spots where the L in Woolseyville's been left out. You do a spell search on Wizzeyville, there's also though some conflicting information in here. One of them is the nest season. There's two different dates. One we have March 1st to October 15th, and then and that's on page 2 of 66. Then on page 24 it talks about April 1st to August 15th. And this will probably come up when we get the 1600 permit from State Fish and Wildlife. They'll identify generally March 1st to August 31st as the nesting season up in that area. So if we can stay away, if we have the opportunity to avoid any construction in between there, as you know, then we avoid nest season. But so what I would do is I would recommend that we be consistent throughout that document, especially in the mitigation perspective there, and say any construction between March 1st and August 31st would require the nest survey. There is also the creek in there, the stream has been referred to as either ephemeral or intermittent on different pages. I don't know if you noticed that. The wetland delineation calls it ephemeral, but yet, in my opinion, it's intermittent, as well as what the CAL FIRE calls it intermittent. You go out there right now and there's some water in that creek, and so it's ephemeral is more of it gets water just during rain and after rain events, and then the water's gone. And that water stays in that channel more, later on in that season. So that's more of just a semantic clear up. And it doesn't make a big deal. Both of them, though, are considered non-jurisdictional from the standpoint of waters of the U.S. anyway. And then there was no discussion about the processing of the wood from the trees and the brush that are harvested for that. And I think in the air quality, I would recommend that brush and wood is ground up and broadcast on site. And if we state that in here, then the public's not gonna think we're gonna have air emission qualities of burning that wood out there. So that's, again, that's just kind of helpful suggestion on that. Would maybe reduce some considerations. And I think the last one is a mitigation measure that talks about the on-site construction supervisor being responsible for the biological kind of thing. My experience, I tend to, and I think in the district's standpoint, I'd be very leery of any construction-related person having management decisions on biological or other types of activities that would impact construction schedules and it's kind of the fox watching the hen house type of thing. So I'm a little bit concerned when I see language like that in there. And if we could change it, it might be that a biologist or a CCWD staff member look at it once a week or something during construction for the protection, of nests if nests are out there. That's all. What I would not want to see is that some environmental issues come up during construction that stops this project or, and somehow creates issues for the district. And I'd be more than happy to talk with you offline about that too. And that's kind of about it, looking through this and a quick read through early this morning.
It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but thank you. I think great job. There were 4 different biologists or water people involved and everything for, Harold Basie's, I don't know if he's 90 yet, but he's getting close to RFP from out of the area. So the reports are more in outline form than I'm accustomed to, but anyway. Sorry. Jeff's laughing over there.
No. I'm not laughing at you.
It's good for me.
Again, I do this for a living, so I have to be nice to these people too. And I'm trying.
I'm just one of those dumb old contractors. Screw things up.
I just had a question.
Laughing because I told him I'm not a biologist or a pilot.
Thanks.
Okay, but I do watch water.
Anybody here make motions?
Well, no, we're not through with the question. I have my last question about the use of water, because it is going to be, I couldn't find any reference to supplying of water or for the construction site.
So you're talking about construction water?
Yeah.
For dust control?
Yeah, for
Dust
dust
control.
control and all that.
Mitigation.
Yeah, normally we would just use potable water, but I know that's probably not a very politically popular solution with the drought on, but that's what we would normally do. Yeah, we'd have a hydrant meter nearby. I know in some cases we have gotten special permits to use reclaimed water.
Right.
If we can, that's something we could look into, yeah.
Is that going to be a Title 22 location when it's done?
It's really not Title 22 water.
It's not. Okay.
All right. I'm looking for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt resolution 2015-003. I'm sorry?
009.
009. See, Jeff, I'm trying to do you a favor, and what happens? It backfires on you.
I'll second that.
Okay. Call for the vote.
Yes, Director Strange?
Yes.
Director Mills?
Yes.
Director Ratterman?
Yes.
Director Davidson?
Yes.
And Director Ennis?
Yes. 5-0. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you.
All right. We are ready for item number 5, which would be reports. General Manager?
Madam President, we have one other item to tell us.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Dennis, I'm sorry.
I'll pout.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we actually,
We can do the general manager's report.
you were actually following an agenda.
All right.
And I have the written report. I just want to also note that Aqua just released its framework for better management of the headwaters areas. I know there's been a lot of talk about that locally. Supervisor Edson has brought that forward for consideration. This agency's been a big part of the development of this framework. It's the Aqua's first policy statement on the need for management and the upper forested areas in particular, but basically the lands above the systems, the engineered systems, and so just to Bob Dean, former director, was he was giving you his persistence
Right.
and
Yeah,
that made this
He
really
deserves
good
credit
work.
for that.
And I'm still a part of it. I'm going to be part of the implementation team. John Mills is our consultant, been a big part of it as well on the drafting side of it. And I just wanted to note that I'd like to actually brief the board on this, probably the next meeting, to have, we may be able to have Tim Quinn, Executive Director of Aqua, here to speak to it. And, if not that meeting, one of the meetings shortly thereafter.
We should probably give a heads up to Cliff Edson.
So he can
if
be
we're going to
here.
have that presentation. I think he'd want to be here for that.
Will we each get a copy of that publication?
Yes, I will make sure each one of you does get a copy of that, so we'll put that in. Yes.
Yes, and Director Dean, indeed, was instrumental in a lot of that. And that's his the finished product. Yeah, and congratulations.
I have the electronic copy that Tim Quinn sent me, if you want me to distribute that to you, back to you, unless you have an electronic copy of it.
I do have an electronic copy, but I'm happy to provide hard copies if you would like. It's got, I think the finished product is something that's nice to have as a reference, excuse me. It's again, I mean, it's a statewide, it's a statement for the needs of the entire state, headwaters areas, but obviously Sierra Nevada is at the core of the center of that. And, to have, finally, to have the organization that represents 90% of the agencies in the state standing up saying that this has to be part of the equation, including active management of the forested lands, public lands, to try to, get ahead of the growing impacts of catastrophic fire and to provide water supply and water quality and all of that. So I think it's worthwhile for you to have if you're interested in
Yes.
publication of it.
Well, I know this is in manager's report, but I think I might just throw in a couple of comments. We were at the legislative symposium that Director Strange was at as well. I talked to Tim Quinn, and he asked, he told me that this was out, sent me an advanced copy of it, and indicated he'd like to come to one of our meetings. And he was very interested, and he knew a lot about CCWD, and I thought that was very, and so I have talked to Dave and looking for a date to get him up here, but that's quite an honor for us to be to have him come here and talk to us, and especially present this. The other thing that he told me is this is going to be a focus of Aqua, and Aqua is statewide, and a lot of times they've never focused on the mountain counties. And for the next 2 years, this is going to be the main focus of Aqua in pushing this Headwaters program, and it's going to be if for all of us who are going to the spring Aqua conference in Sacramento, there will be a lot of talk on this, and we'll see a lot of stuff on it.
And thanks for the plug, because yesterday they just asked me to be part of one of the panels at the conference to speak on this topic. So hopefully you'll be in attendance. Okay, that's all I have. And I guess one thing I do want to note that is in the report is I want to again recognize the hard work of our staff, utility staff, and putting in the isolation valves within the 3A line and the flexibility that gives us now. When we do repairs, we don't have to shut down the entire community. We can isolate it to a specific portion of the line, and also it's going to be a big help in dealing with the construction project, again, to try to minimize impacts so that we can isolate areas for construction and keep other parts in service. That was it's something very positive to report.
Dave, can you bring up possibly for our next board meeting, maybe a resolution of appreciation of those staff members for what they did? This is notable for what was accomplished here and what it's going to save us in the long term. So I think we need to let them know we appreciate their effort and their timeliness in getting this done. And post pictures on our website, Joel?
If I can get my hands on some, I will do that.
Thank you.
I've got, so Bill sent me a number of pictures, and I really appreciate the thought, particularly Bill's thought in coming up with a line stop procedure that really has been used more on the private side, and incorporating that into the project, so that they could do it and again minimize the amount of time and the impacts to the community. I mean, that's something that the community is suffered a lot, having to with outages and all of the consequences of that, and the businesses, and we want to the picture that Director Davis showed of the July 4 weekend, and they couldn't pick a worse time with all of the tourists and everything. So anything we can do to try to minimize, to try to lessen the impacts as we get to the point where we finally have the new infrastructure in place. We want to do that. And that's all I have to report.
Okay. Item 7, new business. Discussion action regarding consideration of resolution for preservation of water storage at New Maloney's Reservoir and Lake Tulloch. Director Mills.
You have the summary attached here. There's one thing I'd like to change on the resolution that's posted, and that is New Maloney's Reservoir was built in 1978, not 62. It was a result of the 1962 Flood Control Act that brought it into being. There is some effort being undertaken, and for those who are interested, this coming Saturday, the 28th, at Black Creek Park in Copperopolis, there will be a summit amongst elected representatives, including, from what I understand, Mr. Bigelow and Barry Hill, and also Mr. McClintock will be there in a forum. And I know that we have representatives that will also be there. This is part of an ongoing issue. As some may not know, there is some effort to negotiate that we will allow a drawdown completely of New Maloney's to the roughly 119,000 acre foot number, and an attempt to keep Lake Tulloch full. And there's a secondary reason for it. It has to do with fire mitigation. Is that they cannot draw with helicopter 404 out of a moving stream or a mud puddle. And so having Tulloch there as a water source is a very safe spot for them to draw from in an emergency. And to say we're in a drought year also means we're in a potential high fire danger, and the forecasts are saying that as well. So this doesn't just speak to our need to service our customers in that area, but also for the safety of the area as well, and also the upcountry for it. So I would appreciate the board's consideration that we take this forward and in essence, make a similar statement to what the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors voted on a couple of weeks ago when they voted, was it 4-0 or 5-0? I think it was 4-0.
I think it was
with one
4-0,
absent,
yeah.
with one absent, to make this a similar statement. And this will also go along with what has been done in Tuolumne counties. They have brought the same concept forward, so that everybody in the headwaters area, if you want to call it that, is making generally the same point to the federal government and the state.
So who do we send this to?
This is just generally a resolution of support for us to state that we're petitioning the state and the federal government to be sure to provide for adequate health and safety requirements as well as adequate supplies for fire suppression.
Okay, so who do we send it to in the state and the federal? I mean, is it?
It will go to McClintock and Barry Hill and Bigelow and the Bureau of Reclamation and anybody else that's involved in in-stream flows.
So the fellows who will be here on
Yes, they will
Saturday.
be here on Saturday.
Director Mills, thank you for asking that this be on the agenda. You'll see that the proposed resolution, and I've got it here, we can walk through it if you like, that we're providing for your consideration today is a bit different than what the county actually adopted. And really, the thought behind that and why I bring this forward to you in a little different manner is because we are, while we absolutely share the same strong commitment to do everything we can to preserve the water supply for our community, we are, we are thinking about, I was thinking of the audiences that we are directing this to, including the State Water Board, and the fact that we do have so many of the things that we do are under their jurisdiction, including the water rights issues that are going to be before them later this year. And I just wanted to make sure that we recognize, try to recognize the fact that, there are many very difficult issues to deal with in this time of drought. Our interest in a municipal water supply has to be at the top of the list, but to try to be artful in the way of communicating that wouldn't come across as, being, that it would be counterproductive in the audience that it's sent to. So I hope that this conveys the strong desire to see a change, to preserve the water supply. I think it does. Just looking at some of the things that are cited in the resolution, the fact that we have a sole source of water supply for our community, that's got to be at the top of the list of any decisions that are made affecting the lake. As well, that the governor has declared declaration of drought, and in that declaration, the governor actually directed his staff to take those steps necessary to consider modifications and release requirements so that they could conserve more water for supplies, just like the case that we have here. In addition to just citing the fact that we're in the fourth year of drought, that there have to be, just as our communities on the human side have been asked to make changes for the governor's call for reduction in water use. That is something that's been asked, and that there's a contribution that's being made to try to conserve the supplies that exist. We ask that the same commitment be made for other release requirements. That consideration of what really is reasonable and beneficial must be. There must be serious consideration of what the drought is doing, and the fact that there is sacrifices that are being made by pretty much all that depend upon the water supply.
Dave, I'd suggest one change, as Director Mills has suggested change, and that is to the top paragraph that you have up there, the second line where it talks about transcend the normal practices for fisheries releases. Those releases, again, are multiple benefit. I mean, they address a lot of different things. So I would recommend that the term fisheries be replaced with downstream flow releases.
So make it more ambiguous to everybody that's out there below us.
Exactly. And so again, I think it softens the word so that, the feds or the state don't look at this and say,
taking a shot at us.
Exactly. And so I think that would enhance that. Because I know that the fisheries people, NIMS, are in negotiations and are willing and discussing the reduction of those requirements.
Yes, that's a great point. Those conversations are happening right now between Reclamation, the water agencies, and Congress. Several members of Congress. We've been briefed on it. We're engaged in it through Congressman McClintock's office, Chris Tudor in the D.C. office. John Mills has actually been working with him directly on, and we submitted some questions that we wanted the congressman to ask the Commissioner of Reclamation specifically about preserving and protecting our water supply and our continued access to it. So, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to note that's something happening right now.
No, I appreciate that, and I commend you for this resolution because I provided comment as far as the counties in kind of a strike through potential modifications to the county's resolution. And I think in many ways this mirrors
instead downstream releasing.
Downstream flow releases rather than fisheries. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Got it.
Yeah, so you did a great job. Great job.
I know, because it talks about salinity.
And let's.
Where's that at?
And I know we recognize the fire flow issue, but we can certainly add more to recognize the fact that this actual storage pool will be and is relied upon in times of catastrophic fire. So we'll add additional language to that effect in the resolution to beef that up.
Good.
Okay, so as we, let's see, so again, efficient use, conservation, we're just saying we want to make sure that applies across the board to all those who benefit. Recognition of the fact of how important this reservoir is, as well as Malonis, and having storage there is to our economy and every, our quality of life and to our county as a whole. In the fact that if we see the drastic drawdown, there could be very serious consequences to our community. They also, reiteration of that we want to see the conservation take place and support all those who have a role in making that happen. Again, fire suppression demands. This is that middle paragraph. That's the one we'll add language to really emphasize the fact that the preservation of this pool is really important for firefighting activities. And again, we're just asking that we have relief that's provided during this time of exceptional drought, and that there be flexibility in operations. And that's it.
Public comment.
Nola and hurry up and approve our new Malonis request for the Warnack storage of 100,000. None of that? Oh.
Where are you
Oh, and
gonna get it
we're
from?
definitely working on that one too.
Larry.
All right. If I could have a motion,
I'd make the motion that we approve this with the amendment of the downstream replacing the word fisheries.
and a second.
I'll second it.
All right. Any board discussion?
Oh, we also have to amend that bill to 1962.
Oh, okay.
Up to
And
1978.
the firefighting thing in the last,
And the firefighting thing in the last piece.
I think, Dave, you got all those changes that we talked about during the.
Yes.
And that's part of the motion.
Yes, that's part of the motion,
Yes.
as amended.
As amended, 3 changes.
Yes.
Okay. Any public comment?
You remember me?
There he is.
Tell me to go away if I'm being a pest, okay? I don't want to be. I want to thank you for that resolution. That is great. Unfortunately, just if you don't know, there's a major fish outflow this week that it's being
5,000.
allowed to go ahead.
It's 5,000 acre
unfortunately.
feet.
So we got there, we didn't quite get there soon enough. The other thing I wanted to do is, if you haven't seen this announcement about the meeting on Saturday, Dennis mentioned it, there's a couple other notable speakers that I'd kind of like you to attend if you could. One of them is Douglas Demko, and he's the president and CEO of a major fish flow firm that does the study on the Stanislaus River, and he's going to be giving a demonstration about the facts of success of fish flow, or the lack of success, as he says it. So I think that'll be real interesting. There is a Tuolumne County supervisor coming, Mr. Roederer, and Oakdale Irrigation District Board member that's been here before, Frank Clark. So there's lots of reason to attend it.
And our board-
10 o'clock, get there early. Not a lot of room.
The Board of Supervisors is attending also?
Debbie Pani will be out of town, but Cliff Edson has agreed to stand in her place.
All right. Close public comment. Roll call vote.
I'd just like to make one comment, and that is, I know some of the folks, in particular, Mr. Demko, that will be discussing the fish flow issue on Saturday, and I just ask that we all understand that he is a consulting firm that works for Oakdale Irrigation District, specifically to handle the downstream flow issues. So one would expect that probably the tone of that presentation will be in a certain direction, in favor of his client and all, as oftentimes is the case. So unfortunately, I don't see on the agenda maybe some other viewpoints as to the fish flow requirements and whatnot. And I think that those of you that attend, just keep an open mind as to the information that you will receive. Thank you.
Thank you. Ona?
Director Strange?
Yes.
Director Mills?
Yes.
Director Ratterman?
Yes.
And Director Davidson?
Yes.
Director
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're down to item number 8, board reports, information, and future agenda items. And prior to our starting that, I'd like to make a couple of announcements, please. The change of Highway 4 committee from a standing committee to an ad hoc. I dissolved the existing Highway 4 committee. I am creating an ad hoc committee to better serve the purpose of the committee and its functionality. The ad hoc committee will continue for 9 months from today's date and will exist for the purpose of exploring opportunities to work with the other agencies in the Highway 4 corridor to identify and develop projects and programs of joint interest and of benefit to our community. Committee members include myself and Director Mills, with Director Strange serving as an alternate member.
Thank you.
My second change is the name and the purpose of the Legislative Committee. And we will change the name of the Legislative Committee, an existing standing committee of the board, to the Legal Affairs Committee. And to expand its scope to include the subjects of state and federal legislation, as well as regulatory and administrative matters affecting the business of the district. This recognizes the fact that other state and federal policies and practices have legal consequences on the district and its ability to perform its mission. And those are the two. Board reports.
I've been attending both, again, CPUD, board meetings, Amador Water board meetings, just provide insight and, when appropriate, some information to those different boards. The MAC IRWM meeting was on March 12th. We also had a discussion at the MAC IRWM of possible teaming with CPUD on the restoration or re-establishment of that middle, what do they call it? The Middle Fork ditch. In that ditch, including in our document today that we looked at, some great historic information on that ditch delivering water into Sandy Gulch and Wilseyville and all. But, so I think that, things are going great. I do, as far as potential agenda items for the future, I want to look at revisiting or the discussion of the lobbyist as it relates to the Warren Act and New Malonis, maybe bringing that back to the board for discussion as far as, now that we have the momentum in the issue that maybe we need, the idea of discussing that again and supporting that to a particular, time frame because of how we've decided to stop that in the past. So I'd like for that to be in a future agenda item very soon to discuss that. I would also like to see a resolution that we've talked about before, that the entire board can support the appointment and hiring of our general manager, Dave Egerton, as the GM to CCWD because of the turnover and board members and all. I think there's been a little bit of disconnect with that, and I'd like to put that whole issue, so to speak, to bed with the resolution that we support our general manager. And also then, I think in that note, Dave, you did a great job with the support letter for AB 142, and especially that last paragraph that talked about additional, studies or at least the idea of potentially amending it, working with our staff to amend it to include the other studies in the time frame, because there was a lot of discussion of just how we could make that happen. So I think you did a great job on that.
Thanks. Thank you. And I'm sorry, I failed to mention that the committee hearing, the policy committee, Assembly Natural Resources hearing was earlier this week. I attended and testified on behalf of the district. The bill, Assemblyman Bigelow accepted the proposed amendments from the chair of the committee And ultimately, the bill passed out of committee with all but one vote in favor. And all of the groups that testified in opposition were prepared to testify in opposition, all but except for one of the NGOs said we can live with the bill as amended.